Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ask the Organizer. This is our free monthly virtual workshop series. I'm Whitney with Big Rocks Organizing. I'm the founder and CEO. And thank you so much for joining us today. Our topic for today is called Prepping for a Move. And I wanted to go ahead and introduce a couple of folks. One is Jean, our new executive assistant, who is doing a fabulous job. And she started with us a couple weeks ago, and she's going to be supporting us on the tech end today. Thank you so much, Jean. And the
Hey,
other,
everyone.
hi. The other is our special guest, Paul Jelderks with Chipman Relocation. And Paul, I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself, because I know that you have years of experience and a wealth of knowledge in your field.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Yes, I've been selling moving and storage for 42 years here in the Portland area. I am an Oregon native, second generation. You don't see many of us. Most of my clientele are people who have moved to the Portland and Oregon area. I specialize in household goods. So I primarily work with individuals who are moving from a residence to another residence in all forms and varieties, going from just residence to residence, houses. I am a preferred mover at several of the high-end retirement communities here in the Portland metro area. So I'm very familiar with working with downsizing situations where people oftentimes are moving from 2, 3, 4,000 square foot homes down to 1,000, 1,500 square feet. So I love working with helping them get organized. I just love working with people in general. So this has been a really good fit for me. I enjoy coming out and meeting people in person. During the pandemic period, we were kind of pushed into a virtual situation, which we're doing here today, and I enjoy. But I really enjoy being able to go out and see people firsthand and help them with whatever their needs may be. So and we cover the full range from local moving, which is regulated by the state of Oregon, to domestic moves, what we refer to as interstate moves. Don't want to skip over. We also do intrastate moves from like the Portland area over to Bend or down to Medford. Though during the summer resources are stretched, so that's a difficult area to service. We also have our own international divisions, so I handle moves around the world as well. And I just try to do the best I can to make the moving process as simple as possible, because as we all know, it's up in the top 3, 4 most stressful things that we incur in our lives. So I try to make it as easy as possible.
We appreciate working with you, Paul. It is very easy, at least in my experience, to work with you and to work with Chipman. We've done a number of projects together over the years, and we'll continue to serve clients together as well. But I wanted to open up the floor for those of you who have some burning questions about moving. Feel free to shout them out. Or if you want to tell us what brings you here today and why you're interested in today's topic.
Well, I'll start. I'm not actively planning on moving, but I know that there's probably going to be a move in my future. And within I don't know, maybe 2 to 5 years kind of time frame. I know I have a fairly large square footage house and, with a lot of accumulation. So I'm interested in the long-term strategy of going into what I know is going to be an eventuality, so that I don't end up doing what I've seen other people in my family do, which is totally freak out at the last minute and everything is just chaos. So I'm looking for the long-term checklist that hopefully you'll include as part of this process. What to start doing 2 years out, what to do 1 year out, that sort of thing, so that I can start actively chipping away in my, very limited free time, because I've got all sorts of other projects going on as well. But this is something I don't want to be caught unprepared for or blindsided by.
Lisa, I love the fact that you're starting 2 to 5 years early. You're our ideal client. Oftentimes folks will reach out to us when they're moving in like 2 weeks time is a pretty common time frame. Paul, if you want to share your experience, and do you want to dive in and address her question? I'm happy to chime in where I can.
Well, I'm excited about that type of person looking forward as well, because too often people do wait to the last minute. The best thing you can do is maybe work before you're even moving to reach out to Big Rocks and help you with just your own in-home organization and downsizing. So often we allow ourselves to collect too many things over the years, and that adds a lot of pressure on ourselves as well as perhaps other family members. So start with organizing where you're at currently, and then as you get closer to an actual move situation, then we're happy to visit and work with you to find out what needs you have. Of course, the first consideration on our part usually is the preparation or packing. And Big Rocks is an excellent resource for getting that organization and boxing done. If it's something more than what they can handle, we have our own crews to facilitate that as well. And then ours is a full service moving company, so we can arrange for loading, driving, delivery to any location.
Thank you. I'm going to be releasing a blog in the next couple of weeks too, Lisa, where I can give you an actual checklist and timeline. It could be a countdown from 5 years out. So look for that coming soon.
Thank you. And I'm just curious, as part of what you offer from Big Rock's perspective is like not just the sorting and the organizing, but actually like the variety of things that either need to be donated, or like how do you facilitate like getting stuff to the right people? It could be like really niche type of things, or not just general donating, like women's clothing or something like that. Could you just talk a minute about how you approach that part of things as well?
Yes, absolutely. So our team has actually built our own app, and we have hundreds of resources. So we're always every week continuously adding to it as we learn about new things. So let's say, for example, you need a place where you can sell fur coats. Like I've got 3 places I can send you to right away at my fingertips. So it really depends on the client. Sometimes they just want things to be done as quickly and efficiently and as low cost as possible. So we'll get them all to one major donation site or just a handful. And other people really want each item to go to a very special home. So we can work with people at either end of the spectrum and everywhere in between to make sure that your items are rehomed responsibly to people who can use them, or if they can't be used, that they're recycled or responsibly disposed of. Yeah. Leslie, I see you got your hand up there.
Yes, my hope was to move by the end of the summer. I look around and think, how in the world is that even possible? I have way too much stuff. My significant other passed away 4 years ago, and I still have most of his things in here too. So I just am hoping to get some guidance here and hear what the resources are. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
Yeah, if you're looking to move by the end of the summer, I know, Paul, you said that you guys are already filling up for the summer. Can you talk a little bit about the timeline of reaching out to work with you or with any moving companies? So I know summer is your peak season.
It is, yes. I'd suggest, recommend that you would reach out at least 1 to 2 months in advance to schedule an in-home visit, or I can also arrange to do a virtual estimate or survey if that's more convenient. I guess the key question here is for Leslie, if that's correct there, would be, are you moving locally, or are you anticipating a move out of the area?
I'm going to move to just outside of Boise, Idaho.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and even to have you come, like 1 or 2 months in advance, I'm going, how am I ever going to get to that point where you can even make an assessment? Because I have my house is about 3,200 square feet. I'm planning on moving into about a 1,300 square foot home, and I am just totally overwhelmed.
Alrighty, well, that tells us right up front, if you're going to be moving into 1,300 square feet, I have a pretty good idea how much furnishings that's going to allow you to take in terms of volume. A move over to Boise is, of course, the first consideration is the preparation packing, but the moving itself, it's not a scale weight, but we actually arrive at a survey weight that we make a bid based on. And a home over to Boise going into 1,300 square feet, even just to give you an idea right now, you're probably looking somewhere in that $5,000 to $7,000 range is probably a good start.
Okay.
If you have a good collection though of glassware or artwork, that could maybe move you up closer to the $10,000 mark. But to be accurate, and it never hurts, because not only do I visit once, maybe 2 months in advance, but then have me come by and at least maybe two other times as you approach that move date, to making certain that you're going to be taking the right amount, so you don't take too much and then be forced in a situation with trying to determine how you're going to dispose of items in a new location.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
expensive.
that would be great, because I'm very worried that I'm going to just have way too much stuff and it's not even going to be able to fit in a garage for storage. So yeah, so that's great to know you give that kind of help.
Yeah, Paul is really great at that. And it's great to right size as much as you can before you move. Oftentimes folks will run out of time going through things, or they do kind of run out of steam, but that's something that we're here to help partner with folks on too, is to help lessen that feeling of overwhelmed and help get you ready to move to out of state or wherever you're headed, and help you get ready to work with Paul and his team.
Great.
Yeah.
And Whitney may have, and I don't want to step on any toes of who she may be working with, but we recommend organizations like the Oregon Community Warehouse if you're looking to be donating items. There's also perhaps an interest in consignment. So there's locations like Northwest Consignment or Old Gallery. These are a couple places that I've referred people to for, gosh, the last 20 years, and people seem to be very happy with them. And of course, Whitney's your expert here. Yeah.
We do work with all of those groups, Paul. And we actually are a furniture forward partner of Community Warehouse. So they waive the $80 pickup fee for our clients. So that's a really great, yeah, it's an awesome resource. And that we actually just worked with them today on a client's project.
Something too, I think people can start early on is it may seem like a small item, but we usually have too many hazardous waste items around our home, whether it be paints, solvents, cleaning products, things we needed for that one-time project. We're still holding underneath our cabinets for years down the road. So, and I'm sure you probably know where the disposal areas are for that, and helping people do that, because that can be a challenge.
Well, and I know that a lot of people aren't aware that you're not allowed by law to move certain items. Can you kind of share with us? And I have a list that I could share with people later on as well, but can you kind of give us an overview of things that by law you cannot pack and transport for people?
Yeah, any items that are deemed hazardous, or we're looking to avoid items that can be considered an accelerant in the shipment. So that's aerosol spray cans, rubbing alcohol, paints, solvents. My wife tried to give me a what was that? Oh, no, we can move spices. She said spices. I think she's thinking of a client. If you are moving overseas, any of you, particularly to Europe, like the Netherlands and such, you cannot take any foodstuffs, spices even, or anything.
Even alcohol, right?
Yeah, alcohol, not even to Canada can you take alcohol. And even domestically, when it comes to liquid products, we try to stay away from open containers. But if somebody like we have some people that have large collections of liquor, whether it be a bourbon whiskey collection or scotch, and some of these can be quite on the high end, $500, $1,000 a bottle. So we're not going to say, no, we're not moving those items. So we make an exception to make certain they're packed properly. But there's certain items we definitely do stay away from, as I was mentioning, that hazardous list. So that's why it's good to, again, have that early visit, go through the home. There's a room we walk by every day and we don't peek in it. So it kind of forces you to really view everything you have when you have another set of eyes looking at it.
Absolutely. Anyone else have questions? I know that some of you here are moving pretty soon, so don't be shy. If not, I've got questions that I can ask you too, Paul.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, tell us about moving those high value items. Like, let's say I have artwork or paintings or things. What would you recommend as far as moving those items?
Well, we do specialize in handling fine pieces of art and fine furniture. Dependent upon its size or weight or just its overall general value, we do work with national firms to do crating for large pieces of glass or oversized mirrors, pictures. I just saw one yesterday where it was a 7-foot by 5-foot mirror with a large gold frame. So that definitely needs to go into a specialized wood crate. Then, of course, we do all the moving within our services and arrange for this national firm to do the uncrating, making certain liability extends to it all the way through. It may be a small item, but bronze pieces are very heavy, and so those require crating as well, because cardboard just does not hold up to those type of items. We're looking for unique pieces usually, original pieces of artwork. Handcrafted items sometimes can be in this realm because it's a one of a kind piece. So even though monetarily wise it may not be a high value, it's high value to that individual. So we want to make certain we give it the ultimate care. If you have something unique, like today, I had someone who had a 10-foot tall bronze sculpture looking to be sent to the East Coast, but it was just an individual piece. So I gave a referral on that. But there's nothing that we cannot, if we can't handle it ourselves, we have the resources to get you involved with the right people to get it safely moved.
Absolutely. I think too, when we've worked with you in the past, like Pelotons, are they usually created? There's something special about moving those.
Yes, Peloton bikes. The critical part of that is the monitor. And because we are a moving company, we are not technicians. So if a customer is comfortable in removing that themselves and reattaching it, that'd be something you'd want to do to save money, because it's quite an expense, like $300 at origin, $300 at destination at your final delivery. So that's the kind of thing you want to let us know about to make certain it's going to be addressed in advance.
Absolutely. We had a question come in through the chat from Sarah. She wondered if you could talk about insuring those special high value items. Can you talk about that versus the standard insurance?
Sure, a very good question. Surprisingly, moving companies do not automatically insure your furnishings. Basic liability with the mover is only 60 cents per pound per article. And that's not only for local moving, but it also applies for domestic interstate moving as well. On interstate moves out of state, we are now required by law to include in full value transfer protection insurance. There's a federal mandate that you have to declare a minimum $6 per pound. So if you have a 10,000 pound shipment, which would be your average size house, I'll say like a 2,000 square foot home, maybe 2,500, 60,000 would be your minimum value that you could declare. The cost is $8.50 per $1,000 protection as a general number. The higher value you declare, the lower the overall cost becomes. And that is an itemized cost that we would break out for you.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Paul. That's really good to know. I'm also wondering, do you recommend that people get a rider to their homeowner's insurance to make sure that their goods are insured during transit, or does that new law cover that same concern?
Well, yeah, very good question. Surprisingly, though, most homeowners policies only cover the individual for catastrophic loss. So if there's a vehicle fire or a theft or a loss involved, they would insure that. But if it's just handling damage where an item is dropped or it gets a scratch on it, that's something you need to be able to fall back onto your moving company. Yeah, because homeowners insurance, there are some exceptions, particularly on the high end scale. If you're working with Chubb or Lloyd's of London, they'll have policies that will cover your entire move while it's in process. But that's probably only, I'd say 2 to 5% of the population have policies like that.
That's really good to know. Leslie, you have a question?
Yeah, I do. Because I'm going to be selling my house and then moving, and I only have one area that I'm going to move into. It's a 55 plus community. So I don't know how long I'm going to be having to put my items in storage. Do you do the storage for items?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And we do have couple different facilities in the Boise location. They're both climate controlled. So the items are blanket wrapped, held in a climate control facility, and then delivery back out to your residence when you're ready, and placement into the rooms as you orchestrate it.
Okay, are they in containers then? Or
yes, it's what's referred to as vaulted storage. We would, dependent upon how much total amount you end up moving. If you have under 5 rooms of furnishings, oftentimes now we are containerizing your furnishings and sending them in what we call full service containers. They measure about 7 feet by 6 feet by 5 feet. It'd be like 5 containers that we would send over, and they would stay in those containers all the way through to the final delivery point, your new residence. Yours may be a little bit larger than that, and so it's a conventional loose load, blanket wrap, shrink wrap, load drive delivery to our warehouse facility, where those items are then loaded into wood crates to where that while they're being stored. And when you are then ready to have it delivered out, they'll take it out from those storage containers, loose load it into the truck, and ultimately again out to your home for delivery as you instruct.
okay, and what is the cost for that? Is it a per month?
It is per month. If it's a smaller load, it's just the storage itself, and that ranges about $100 per container. You get with a larger size amount going to like your 1,300 square foot home, delivery, it's like paying for a second move, unfortunately. So there's a fair amount of expense with that. You could easily be adding $3,000 to $4,000 for just 1 month storage with the redelivery. And then a monthly rate probably in the vicinity of $500 to $700 a month.
Wow. Okay. That's good to know. Thank you very much.
You bet.
That's one reason why we encourage clients to right size as much as possible before moving, just because it can be really expensive to move things, only to decide later that maybe you didn't truly need to bring them with you. Or sometimes though, we might not be ready to let go, especially if we've had a loss right before a move or close to a move. Paul, is there any kind of national average for if you're moving out of state, like a per pound cost? Because sometimes that's helpful for our clients when they're making decisions. If, let's say, for example, it's $4 a pound to move this to Idaho. How much do you really love this lamp, for example?
Right. Yeah. It varies so widely. It's difficult for me to put just a simple dollar per pound on it. You actually pay more, probably dollar per pound, if it's a real close like location like Boise. I would say you're looking anywhere from, gosh, I'm trying to calculate this in my head right now. Say $10,000, 5,000. I'd be going probably $4 to $6 per pound is just maybe a good rough start.
Okay.
But most people don't really have a weight calculation in their mind as to what their furnishings weigh until somebody comes out and reviews that with them.
Right.
But it can be a good decision-making tool for people, I think, when they're really trying to decide what to bring, what not to bring. I'm sorry, Leslie, do you have a follow-up question?
No, that's been extremely helpful. Thank you so much.
It sounds
purge.
Are you moving into a new construction, Leslie?
No, I'm gonna it's a or it's a 55 plus community
Okay.
actually in Garden City. And
Okay.
but I know that's where I want to move, but it depends on when something's going to be available for sale and if I can you know if I can get it.
Yeah, get in line, as it were. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But you can start now, even if it's just 10, 15 minutes a day, going through one drawer, one cupboard, one type of item in your house and making some decisions. Just start now so that you'll be ready when something does become available.
Well, putting it in terms of dollars is helping a great deal. Thank you.
Hopefully it's a good motivator. Lisa, do you have
Exactly.
I see your electronic hand up there.
Me?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm kind of hearing this concept for the first time, and I wonder if you could just like give a scenario or an example. Like, I've got a guest bedroom and I'm not particularly attached to the bed frame, and it may be wood and heavy. I mean, is this part of the analysis? Like, do I want to pay for this to move, or do I want to buy a new one when I get to my new location? Is that the analysis? And could you just walk through an example of somebody doing that?
Well, it's more drastic, particularly to the East Coast. If you have a shipment going there, you're paying at least I always look at it a per 100-pound basis. So if you have a bed frame in itself that weighs 100 or 200 pounds, you're going to pay $200 to $400 to ship a bed frame, even without the mattress and box springs. And there's some additional packaging with that. So yeah, people want to know and when I come out and do a quote for someone, not only am I giving them a grand total, but I'll itemize out any particular pieces they may have in question so they can really decide for themselves if that's worth the investment.
Wow, so this is really like the time to make that Marie Kondo, like, do I really love it decision.
Exactly.
And I just like donate it and get the, I guess, tax credit, and then the economics of doing that is a really interesting analysis to go through. Thank you for talking about the per pound aspect. I had always thought it was just like fill the truck and and go, right? But no, there's more to it than that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And is it something that you can easily replace on the other end? Can you pick up a used bed frame off of Facebook Marketplace or wherever on the other end, for less than you could move it? Or is it something sentimental that's been in your family for generations that you can't replace and it is worth moving across the country? You have to weigh those decisions for sure. Well, what other questions do you have for us? I'm really curious. Could be a small question to a big question. I might ask Paul if you just have some general advice based off of your 42 years of experience. And we talked about calling you 1 to 2 months out at a minimum. What other advice would you give?
Well, eliminate those things that you do not need, because moving is the time to do that. For those larger shipments, they are weight-based. So items like books, magazines, publications, oak furniture, canned goods. These are items you should be looking at because those are the ones that are going to be more expensive. Appliances are a big consideration. It used to be that most people would take appliances with them, the key ones: washer, dryer, refrigerator. But now a washer dryer with a disconnect, reconnect, going to the East Coast can be $800 for a set, where depending upon the model and what the price point is on that washer and dryer, that may be something to think of leaving behind. Same thing with a refrigerator, $800 to ship one versus you could put that toward buying a new one for $1,500. I'll kind of step back a little bit and talk a little bit more about local moving. Local moving is actually, Oregon is one of 2 states that still regulates household good movers. And so any moving within the Portland metro area is just charged by the hour. And again, the packing, which usually when we're working with big rocks, you guys are doing the preparation for us. So we're just doing the actual moving. and a local move usually ranges somewhere in between $1,000 to $2,000, maybe $3,000. Though for a large 4,000 plus square foot home, you can get that price up to about $10,000. Moving out of state, like we were talking Boise or again, and I'll use the extreme to the East Coast, a minimum move, even for just one room of furnishings, is going to run $4,500. Versus you can also ship 5,000 pounds for basically that same price to some locations, depending upon its distance and what time of year that you happen to be moving. To the East Coast, for a large house, if you're talking a 3, 4, 5,000 square foot home, during those summer months, you could be talking $40,000 to $60,000 for a full service move. So it can be quite an investment.
Wow, Paul. We got a question in the chat from IB Creative about moving an antique piano and gun safe. I don't know if that's a local, or an interstate move or an international move, but can you talk a little bit about moving those big heavy items, especially pianos?
Yeah, pianos, dependent upon the type of piano, it can or cannot be much of a challenge. Usually if it's just a piano, well, if it's moving locally, oftentimes we'll defer to a local piano mover. If it's going out of state, it's really relatively affordable, particularly if it's a spinet or a standard upright piano. Probably wouldn't cost any more than $200 to $400 if it's a part of the shipment to move a piano.
So I just got additional information. It's upright, it's antique, and it's going from Oregon to Arizona.
Alrighty, that one item in itself, we're probably going to be in that one of that minimum room prices, so probably $4,500. And in regards to pianos, of course, the more difficult ones to handle, or not that they're more difficult, sometimes they're easier, would be baby grand pianos or grand pianos where you're having technicians to take the legs off, tying down the keyboard, and then of course assembly at the other end. And oftentimes, again, we're using third-party technicians that are experienced in dealing with pianos on a regular basis, where they do the prep work, we do the moving because that's what we specialize in, and then having expert technicians doing the setup at delivery. But just an upright piano, and important, and I don't want to talk over myself here, but access is always a key question. Is it just moving out of a ranch style home, which we can handle? If it's having to come down a flight of stairs, like I have one over in Northwest Hills, it's having to come down 30 outside steps. That definitely adds some additional cost and expertise. So each individual move is unique.
Yes, stairs are always important. I know that we have had pianos moved as well, and I think they typically require 3 people and a piano bar to keep it from tipping. Oftentimes,
yeah, piano board is what it's referred to.
Sorry, board.
Yeah, and that's an absolute necessity when you're moving baby grands or grand pianos. You usually don't use those. It's more of just a muscle and brawn situation when you're dealing with the standard upright type pianos like a spinet, console spinet, or upright.
Okay. So it sounds like if we're moving this piano from Oregon to Arizona, that it needs to be a really beloved, cherished item.
Yeah, well, I mean, pianos range in value anywhere from $5,000 up to $200,000 if it's a Steinway or year. Some different considerations there.
Definitely. What about gun safes? IB Creative also asked about that.
Yeah, gun safes, and of course, once again, that can go from one end to the other. You have gun safes, the small metal ones that may only weigh 100, 150 pounds. Those are obviously quite easy to do. We do move gun safes in the 600 to 800 pound level. Occasionally, we'll move one in the 1,000, 1,200 pound weight classification. But again, then you're having to work with perhaps a third-party company to assist with the loading at origin and unloading at destination. So the price can vary anywhere from $500 to $2,000, depending upon location and type.
Wow. And I know sometimes they're bolted down, so maybe working with that third party to get it unbolted from
Usually,
concrete
yeah,
floor. Yeah.
mostly those that have been bolted generally do stay, but there is a rare client who, and when we would ask them to arrange for the disconnect on that, and then we arrange for the moving.
Thank you for that. We got a little bit more information about the piano. It's 110 years old, steel back, upright grand, may have to stay here. So we'll see what ends up happening with this piano. Thank you for the additional.
That's yeah, there are some people who do leave pianos with the houses when they get to be that size and
Yeah,
and
it can be
weight. Yeah.
challenging to rehome them. But Portland does, and I think they're accepting applications right now. There's a program around town where they'll take old pianos and have artists paint them and decorate them and then put them in different places around town as pieces of art. So people can donate old pianos to that program. But we have other piano donation resources as well. But yeah, those can be tricky. We have a clarification question here in the chat. Could you clarify, did you say longer distance shipments are by the pound, but local moves are priced differently?
Yes, local moves, which would be anywhere within a 30-mile area, or I should say 30 to 50-mile area within the Portland metro area, is charged by the hour. The rates they've gone up several times over the last couple of years, but your like 2 men in a truck is $167 an hour. 3 men in the van, I think, is now about $250 an hour. There is a minimum weekdays, 4-hour minimums on local moving. Saturdays are a 5-hour minimum. There's no service on Sundays unless then you're going to be paying for a full day service at an overtime rate. So that's very rare. Moves out of state. Yes, they are weight based. That's kind of what I would determine as I'm going through the home. Over this last year, the company I represent, Chipman Relocation Logistics, we represent United Van Lines and Mayflower Transit as an interstate carrier. And I come out to your home and I come out with a rated weight. And my pricing is based upon what I list on my survey inventory. So I arrive at a weight of my minimum 5,100 pounds to 10,000 pounds to homes I've had as much as 35 or 60,000 pounds in a single home. That's the exception, not the rule, obviously. But once I provide that quote, it's based on the items on my survey inventory.
Oh, thank you. I think from what I understand, Paul, there are two different types of tariffs. One is that the clock starts maybe when the truck leaves the yard at the moving company, and the other is when the mover arrives at your house. Can you talk a little bit about the two different tariff rates?
Right, yeah. Yeah, very good question. Yes, when you file with the state of Oregon, you have to clarify which one of those two rate sections you're going to apply under. We work with a rate which is applied from the time we arrive at the loading address, charged to the time we are completed delivery. The other one is what's referred to as a portal to portal, which means the mover is charging from the time they leave their facility to the time that they arrive back. And we found with particularly travel times around Portland now with the traffic situation, it's much more reliable and more equitable to the customer to not be charging them sitting in traffic, but just charging them for the time we're actually performing the service. We do, of course, charge travel time between the loading address and delivery address.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that, because I think it can be a little bit confusing.
Sure.
I'm curious, what other questions do you all have about getting ready for a move? How about plants, Paul? Can you tell us about moving live plants?
Live plants, yes. We can move live plants locally. We can also do them if you're moving like that move to Boise. We can do that because that's going to be a relatively fast delivery time. When I say fast, like 2 to 7 days. A lot of people, and that's even good for people that you maybe talk to going down to California, down to the Bay Area, only 600 miles, or um, moving companies have to accommodate time on and offloading shipments. So it's not like you get in your car and you drive to that location. Yeah, you're going to have what's referred to as a delivery window. So to Boise, as I mentioned, 3 to 7 days, down to the Bay Area, 3 to 12 days. If it's a really small load, then we're doing a consolidation and maybe shipping through a freight forwarder to our office down there. And you'll have a delivery that may take 3 weeks down to San Francisco or down to the San Diego area. So something to consider.
Definitely. For local moves, we usually recommend that clients take their plants in the car with them. And
right. Oh yeah. And that I kind of lost my train of thought there, but
no,
yes,
that's okay.
regarding plants. So yeah, it has to be within a fairly close location to take plants. Otherwise, if you're going beyond, say, 150 miles, we will not transport plants at all unless the client again just really insists upon it. But we have to make a waiver and explain to them that their plants, we're not going to assure that they arrive there in any particular condition.
Yeah, because they won't be getting water or sunlight during
That
those
is correct.
2 to
Yeah.
3 weeks. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right. Drivers do not water plants.
No, it was interesting though. We had a shipment with Chipman Relocation Logistics arrive from San Francisco area in Portland, and the plants did make it, by the way. They just needed a
Woohoo.
little TLC. But it was interesting to me. I mean, this truck was so long, and the driver had basically a cab that they lived in
Mhm.
while they were driving across the country. I guess, can you tell us a little bit more about that? I found it just really fascinating. Like, he had everything he needed in the front of the truck.
Mhm.
It was like an RV almost.
Absolutely. Well, let's start with the trailer, first of all, where your furnishings are actually loaded. These are air ride trailers. They come fully equipped with blankets, straps, all the equipment necessary to properly load. When I started 40 years ago, the standard length of a moving trailer was 40 feet. They went to 42, to 46, to 48, and now the standard interstate moving van is 53 feet long, just the trailer. And then also, as you said, the tractor or the power unit that the driver is pulling that trailer with. They used to just had a standard cab over, and they would always just be stopping at a truck stop. But during the pandemic here, during these last 2-3 years, the truck stops became very expensive. They were not well maintained. So a lot of drivers have gone to full utility tractors, where many of them actually have a little living quarters, a kitchen, a shower. And so just the power unit itself, the tractor, can be 30 feet long. So you add 30 feet to 53, you're 85 feet. And then you have to allow maneuvering room within that. You can beyond that, I should say. So you need to figure 100-foot area to park that size tractor trailer.
I know we've done some moves where you will have a smaller truck come to the residence, and then it gets reloaded on one of those larger 53-foot trucks. And then it goes to the destination, and then it's unloaded onto a smaller truck again to get to the residence. Can you
That
tell
is,
us a bit? Yeah.
yeah, very good question. Particularly in the Portland metro area, we have a lot of hills, a lot of narrow roadways. And so it's what's referred to as a shuttle, where the driver either gets his straight truck from our facility, or he may go to a Ryder or U-Haul type of facility to get a straight truck, load the furnishings into there, then bring it back to our yard where his trailer may be at. We generally try to get it close if possible, so he's not having to have too much road time. But we'll load it from that small truck to the large interstate van to make final delivery. We only for our company, United Mayflower, we only charge for an origin shuttle, since we're giving you an assured guaranteed price. If at destination you have a difficult access and a shuttle is required, you are simply signing for the service, and we will perform that, and we absorb that cost. So there's no hidden fees.
Wow, that's really great. Anyone have questions that have come up? We've got a question here. The labor market has changed. Do you have any challenges with hiring or retaining employees? I'm just curious.
Yeah, very good question. Once again, during the pandemic, and we may recall that there was a very large backup at the ports with hauling freight. And I'm seeing another question there too, sharing the truck. But so yeah, talking about drivers, number one, our industry, not just our company, but the industry as a whole, had a difficult time keeping drivers within their ranks because they were being offered larger amounts of money just to go haul freight trailers out of the ports. And it's just common sense. Gosh, if you can make more money just packing your or pulling your truck up to a trailer and hauling it from point A to B versus having to do all the wrapping, loading, driving, unwrapping, delivery. We had to, and that's why pricing skyrocketed actually, or it almost doubled in 3 years, the cost of moving. So what was once a $5,000 move is now 10. What was used to be a $10,000 move is now 20,000. What was 20 is now 40, just because of those associated costs. On the local moving market, as we're all struggling to keep people, we are contractor based. We're very fortunate. We have a couple of large corporate clients in this immediate area, so we're fortunate to keep a good, solid work base. They do have to be background checked. We work with Nexus as a background check, so the individuals have to go through drug testing, mandatory check, make certain they're not carrying any more than 2 misdemeanors, no felonies. And also that applies towards interstate shipments as well too. So that in the old, I say the old days, 40 years ago when I began, drivers would just go to a truck stop and pick up common labor, but now they have to have qualified individuals with a background check to make delivery. There's just too much liability extended going with individuals going into people's homes, making certain that they have a proper background check.
And I just want to speak to the experience that we recently had with moving a client to Las Vegas with you guys. So we had everything packed. I think it was about 9,000 pounds. And you had 3 of your folks come. One had been with Chipman for 10 years, 115 and 120. They had the truck loaded in 3.5 hours. They were so polite, so professional. I mean, they were amazing. And they were fun too. Our team had a lot of fun working with them.
Well, thank you.
So I just want to say that every time we work with you, we've had a really good experience with your team, Paul, and that you have some long-term people on your team. And that's really
and they're still young because it is a young man's game. So many times they come in on working on the trucks at age 18 to 20. And you'll have people who move furniture for 10, 20, 30 years. We do have some people in their 50s still moving furniture, but not too many because it is very demanding work. But you move furniture day in and day out, you can stay pretty strong and fit if you're smart about it.
Yeah, and these gentlemen, I think at least one was in his 40s, one in his 50s, maybe the other in his 30s. But yeah, they were really fit. We have a question in the chat here from Sarah. Can you talk about the pros and cons of sharing a truck for an interstate move with other people who are moving to the same area?
Yeah, very good question. It's one that I hear a lot. And when you do move out of state with a full-size home, it is going to go on one of those 53-foot trailers. So it is going to be a shared trailer situation. The trailers these days have side doors as well as a rear door. So once yours is placed on, it's going to stay in that location until it is unloaded. It's just kind of some people have hesitancy towards that, but it's actually the way it's kind of been done for the last 60 years. Each individual shipment has its own particular color tag. The trailers are marked on the inside, so they know where your load begins, where it ends. They usually use the mattress cartons as a bulkhead, if you will, to block from where your shipment is within that trailer. And of course, each and every item, whether it be cartons, a miscellaneous piece, like a large basket, to the furniture itself, is individually tagged and numbered. And then we give you the opportunity to check that list off so that we're certain every piece that went on comes off. And occasionally an item can be misplaced or mistagged, but at least you have a good reference to make certain everything has been received in good condition.
Thank you for that. Lisa had a question in the chat, was as organizers, can we help coordinate or facilitate the move and work with movers such as Paul and Chipman? The answer is yes. Oftentimes we do act as what's called move managers in our field. And so we can help people as little or as much as they would like. So we recently moved a couple and they were both working full-time professionals, working more than 60 hours a week, pregnant, getting ready to have their first baby, moving to a new home, and they didn't want to be involved at all. So they were actually never there, and we ended up doing their entire move and unpacking them and getting them settled in, and all they had to do was just come home and walk in the door, and they were there. So we could do something like that, to where we're just, maybe we're just making an introduction between you and Paul and doing a warm handoff, so, and everything in between.
If I may throw this out, we love working with Big Rocks Organizing. It makes our job so much easier because people always have the best intentions of being well prepared, but as we know, there's a lot of demands on our lives today. And when you're working with an organizing professional, movers are always assured when they show up that you're going to be ready for us. And it makes for an easy move and a happy move. And those are a couple nice words when it comes to moving.
Thank you so much, Paul. I think we also help coordinate with different family members. Sometimes we have quite a few people involved. Oftentimes there's a lot of emotion involved in a move, and so we can help support people through that. Whereas our moving partners, they're kind of there to get the job done and might not be able to stop and provide that. Not that they're not wanting to be, they're compassionate individuals, but they're there to do their thing, and we're able to help support in other ways. And we work really well together.
Excellent.
Any last minute questions?
Yeah, I would like to just have all Paul's information.
Yeah, I will definitely. We'll send out a follow-up email with a link to this video replay, and we'll have all of Paul's contact information in there for you.
And all the Big Rocks information too will be there.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And if you want to put your info in the chat right now, you're welcome to do that as well.
Alrighty.
Yeah, either way.
I'm not too skilled on that. Yeah.
No, that's okay. We'll send out your contact information to everybody who registered today afterwards, if that's okay with you, Paul.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'd love to be able to connect directly with you and answer your questions more specifically and more accurately. I want to be sure I'm giving proper information.
Absolutely. Well, good luck, everybody, with preparing for your move, whether it's next week, whether it's 5 years from now. Really glad that you could join us today. Thanks for bringing some really great questions. Thank you, Paul, for being here to share your 42 years of experience with us. It's amazing. I always love working with you to assist clients and help them get to where they want to go.
Thank you so much.
Well, have a good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for spending part of your sunny afternoon with us.